Okay, we're live. So, hi everyone out there. I'm Shayla. I'm the founder of Resplendence Language Arts, and today we have I don't just a beautiful human being. We have Sister Erna with us today from Ghana. She's in Ghana. She repatriated to Ghana, so she's going to share with us her story today, and just give us some tips. And it's going to be a really just I'm just excited to hear what you have to say. I will ask you questions, of course.
Okay.
But first of all, tell everyone that's out there right now your name. Tell everyone where you're from originally, or actually, while you're here in the States. I shouldn't say originally. We know where we're from originally, but
Right.
in the
Yeah.
States, and just kind of give us that background story, and then kind of move forward to why Ghana. So we can start
Okay.
there.
Okay. My name is Erna Casa, and I moved here from Michigan, where I had lived most of my life. I was born in Arkansas and lived in Ohio, and spent most of my life in Michigan, where I went to university. I was a teacher for 34 years. And I did my first trip to Africa. In fact, I was talking about that today. July this year will be 40 years ago, 1981.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And
And when you
there
first
was,
landed,
sorry,
what did it feel?
uh-huh.
I know what it felt like for me, but what did it feel like
Uh,
for you when you first
well,
landed?
I still remember that feeling. I remember getting off the flight. It was Air Afrique, an African airline, which mostly dealt with the Francophone countries. And when I got off the flight and I put my foot on the ground for the first time, when I literally stepped my foot on the ground, not my feet. Uh, uh, I mean, it was like a tingling sensation. And then when I stepped down, I really had the urge to just holler, Africa, Africa, I'm home. But I was afraid. I said, well, if I start acting like this, they may put me back on the plane and send me back and say, we got a crazy woman here, so let's just send her back. And my first trip to Africa was in Dakar, Senegal. I went there for 1 month, and I did 5 countries: Senegal, the Gambia, the Ivory Coast, Mali, and what was known as Burkina Faso at the time. No, the Upper Volta. It was named the Upper Volta at the time. And it was a wonderful experience. It was just an experience that I will never, ever, ever forget. I've forgotten a lot of things over the years, but that's not one.
Right, good. So then after that, so it was your first experience. You loved it,
Mhm.
obviously.
Yes.
And then just like probably how what I've been doing, you went back home and started singing the praise of Mama Africa, right? And like, how did that
Well,
part go out for you?
Well, I think I had been singing the praise long before then, because I had my first experience in terms of dealing with Africa uh, in America when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I went to a 3 room country schoolhouse in Arkansas
Mhm.
for a few years. And I had gone to the office one day. My teacher asked me to take the attendance sheet into the office. And when I got in there, there were 3 men standing in there. And they were talking to the principal of the office at the time. And I just walked right up and told him, my teacher's name was Henrietta Patton. Miss Patton told me to give this to him, even though he was trying to talk to somebody. I was 7 or 8 years old. And so he looked at me and he kept talking. I said, Professor Livingston, Miss Patton told me to give this to you. He said, you just stand right there and wait. Just stand there and wait. And so I stood there waiting. And then he said, I want you to take these men around to the other classrooms. Now, we only had 3 classrooms, right?
Mhm.
So I took them around, and he told me that one of the men, he was kind of a redheadish guy. He was from the country of, they were calling it Tanganyika then, before they changed
Huh.
it to
Mhm.
Tanzania. And he
Mhm.
had come to Arkansas to go to University of Arkansas, I think, or Pine Bluff, or in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And so I looked up at him, and the principal, which we call professor, told me that he's the one that was from Africa. And so, sure enough, I took him around to the classrooms, And when I went in, I couldn't remember his name. I just said, Professor Livingston told me to bring this African man here and let everybody meet him. So
Mhm.
I took him to the teacher and did just that. And that was my very first, and he has always been on my mind ever since. He's never left my mind since that time. I don't know what happened to him. And like I said, I was 7 or 8 years old. And then when I was 9 years old, by then we had moved to Cleveland, Ohio from Arkansas. And my father had gone to work. He was a mason, but his car had broken down, so he caught the bus to work this particular day. And on the way coming back, he found a National Geographic. And I used to love to read. And he bought this National Geographic back and he gave it to me. And there was a story in there about Africa. I don't remember which country it was, but I remember telling my father that I wanted to go to this place. My
Oh.
father, with all of his ninth grade wisdom, said to me, if you get an education, you can go anywhere in the world you want to go. And I believed
Mhm.
him.
That's right.
And so that was when I was about 9. And then when I was about 15, in high school, then our Afro-American studies teacher is what he was. But oftentimes he would give us bits and pieces of information about Africa. Like, for instance, we had to learn so many countries on the continent, north, south, east, and west.
Mhm.
So, I mean, just ever so often, something about Africa would come up. And then when I got ready, just before I got, no, when I got ready to go to college in Detroit, there were a lot of Africans I met there. I moved to an apartment building, and luckily enough, when I moved to that apartment building, there was a guy got on the elevator one day who lived on the 8th floor, and I had on an African dress, and so he asked me where did I come from. I said, "What do you mean, where did I come from? I, I live in this apartment," and so he
Mhm.
had this accent. So I asked him, "Where did you come from?" And he told
Mhm.
me he came from Ghana. I said, "Oh,
Oh,
okay."
okay.
So he was really the very first, other than the one from Tanzania that I met. He was like the second one that actually was old enough to, met him, sit down, talk with him. And so he
Mhm.
invited me up to his apartment to come and have dinner with him. So uh, it was about 2 hours later, and I went up to his apartment. And when I walked in, they were all sitting on the floor around this big round bowl. And they were all sitting together eating with their fingers. And I'm like, I looked at it, and then I thought, well, my mom and my grandmother has eaten with their fingers, but only greens and cornbread.
Yeah.
So, so I stood there for a while and I looked, and then they looked at me. He said, "Oh, it's okay. Let me get you a separate bowl." So then
Mhm.
there were about 5 people, and they were all sitting down there eating with their finger at the same bowl. So he
Mhm.
got me a bowl, and I sat down and I ate, and I liked it. And then, like I said, as I was in undergraduate, I had the opportunity to meet quite a few other Africans,
That's why I met a lot of
Ethiopians.
international people myself. I think most of us, when we go to university setting, we get to. It's just it's a joy because you meet people from so many different walks
Yeah,
of life and so many
yeah,
different countries, and you can learn as much as you want.
right. That's true. And then I did my undergraduate studies, both my undergraduate and graduate studies. My minor and both undergraduate and graduate school was in African studies. So it just kind of went on from there. And
Mhm.
then I finally had the opportunity, like I said, in 1981, to go to Africa, uh, and I went. It was wonderful, and I had a great time. And since that time, I've been going back. Since then, I've been going back and forth. I also had the opportunity to take groups over there. I took 101 people to Senegal on one trip,
Wow.
and
Wow.
it was wonderful. And I took other groups over, and while I was a teacher, I taught at one particular school. Um, I was just telling the story today how all I ever wanted to be all my life were were two things: a teacher and Gladys Knight. And since I couldn't end up being Gladys
You
Knight,
didn't want to be Gladys Knight.
since I couldn't end up being Gladys Knight, my next best choice was a teacher.
To be a
So
teacher.
I took
By the way, side note, did you keep in contact with all the, I mean, that's like hundreds of students, right? That you were
yeah,
able
there's
to have
still
this
some of them
experience
that
with.
come on my Facebook page now, and
Oh,
there's been a couple of them that have come over here, and
okay.
I have one student in Michigan that I took in 1996, and he
Mhm.
was about maybe 8 or 9 years old, who is now a state senator in Michigan.
Whoa,
Yes,
whoa, 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 whoa.
and so I took children over there on 4 different occasions, and they
Mhm.
stayed in Senegal and the Gambia. I had contact in Senegal and with a school in Senegal. My Senegalese mama had a school. And then there was I had a friend in the Gambia who knew of a lady that had a school. So the children who were in the school that I taught at, the foreign language immersion and cultural studies, they taught French, Spanish, and Japanese. And those
Mhm.
students who were in the French track, they got a double load. They got the language and they got the cultural studies. And the other students who were in the Japanese and Spanish track, they got the cultural aspect of it. So it was really very good and very interesting. I remember when I went to the school to apply for the position, and after I spoke with the principal and everything, I said to her that I would like to be able to take the children to Africa as a part of their curriculum for cultural studies. She looked at me for a while, and then she said, "Well, okay, okay." So I had the opportunity, which was wonderful, to take those children over, and they had a wonderful time, and and they stayed with the families for 3 weeks, and then the last week we were all tourists. So it was a wonderful occasion,
Mhm.
and like I said, I've just been going back and forth since then. Actually,
Mhm.
my desire to move to Africa. Uh,
That's what I want to know. Like, when did that happen?
it was not Ghana,
Oh,
really. It was actually the Ivory Coast. I love Senegal too,
okay.
but Senegal was too dry, too much desert, and
Mhm.
so I decided I like greenery. So I'd gone to
Mhm.
the Ivory Coast on my first trip too, in 1981, and then in 1983 there was
Tell
a
me
young.
about the Ivory Coast, though. Can you pause real quickly and tell me about the Ivory Coast? Because that's not, you hear a lot of people talk about Gambia, Senegal, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda. Not too many people talk about that. So can you tell us a little bit of your experience or what it looked like? Because you mentioned green, right? So
Yeah,
what was that
and
like back then,
I'm going to
especially?
tell you how I went there the first time, and of course we just did our tours and all. But what really made me interested in the Ivory Coast was that in 1982 there was a group of students who came from France in an exchange program to Detroit. And
Mhm.
so I took one of those students who was from Gabon. I signed up, and one of the students from Gabon stayed with me. So when I got ready to go to the airport to pick her up, I met a sister and 2 brothers from the Ivory Coast. And I
Mhm.
told them I had been to the Ivory Coast. And so when they got ready to leave a month later, and I went back to the airport to take them, to take my young lady from Gabon, they were at the airport again. So I saw them there, and I asked the young
Hey,
lady, her name is Nadesh Kofi. I said, "So how did you enjoy your trip?" And she told me she didn't really enjoy it because she stayed at a preacher's house and they didn't do nothing but go to church. And so I said, what she said. So I said, "Well, okay, if you come back next year and stay with me, you can come back next year and stay with me." So
Mhm.
she went home and asked her parents in the following year. She came back and stayed with me
Mhm.
for a month. And then in 1984, I went to the Ivory Coast again and stayed with her and her family for 6 weeks. And it was just lovely. They showed me a wonderful time. It was great. They're just beautiful people, and I ended up doing some soul food there. I cooked
Mhm.
some cabbages, some fried chicken, and cornbread, and potato salad, and macaroni and cheese.
Are you making that for me when I come to Ghana?
Well, I don't do too much cooking now, but
I'll cook for you. How about that?
I'll try.
I'll cook for you.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Uh, I don't know what's going on here.
I know. Hold on.
Oh, wow.
Hopefully you'll
Okay.
come right back. You still there, right? There you are.
Yes, I am still here. So
There
while
you
I
are.
was there, and they loved the food, so her father said, "Oh, you should open up a restaurant here in Ivory Coast." And so I said, "Okay, I'll come back." And he told me he would help me to open up a restaurant. That was in
Mhm.
1984. And then when I left there in 1984, when I got back to Detroit, I was asked by a community or program, and I was asked by one of the professors if I would talk about my experience in Africa. He was an African studies teacher, and I said okay. So I left school on a Friday evening, went to the school to talk about my experience in Africa, and true story. And when I got there, I did my little speech, and when I got ready to leave, there was a crowd at another room down from me, and they were just bursting at the seams all outside the door. And I thought, oh, I should go and see what's going on here. So when I got ready to go there, this guy turned around, and I said, that's going to be my husband. I never laid eyes on him before in my life. Never. True.
And
And so luckily there was a guy there that he was with him. And so we talked. I didn't talk to him. I didn't talk
mm,
to my future husband. I talked to this other guy, Ethiopian guy that I knew. And
mhm,
so later we all got together and everything. We got together and he and I got together, and then we ended up getting married, and we were together for 15 years. And then when we broke up, in 1999, I said, at the end of 99, we broke up, and I said, I need to go somewhere. So
mhm.
I was going to go to the Ivory Coast, but they were having a civil disturbance. So I
Yep.
said, well, let me just go somewhere. So I bought a ticket.
Mhm.
And when I was getting ready to leave on the 3rd of January to go back to Detroit, I saw this guy at the airport around 6 o'clock, this tall, black, fine as he wanted to be brother. And I was thinking, I wonder, where is he from? I'm always trying to figure out. I think I know enough about several African countries to figure out who they are based on their
Mhm.
features.
Mhm.
So I saw him, like I said, around 6 o'clock. 10 o'clock when we got ready to leave, I get on the airplane. I go to my seat, and who should be sitting next to me but this tall, black, fine as he wanted to be brother, right next to me. So I sat down, and we talked. We talked from all the way from Accra all the way to New York. Never did that before. I always get on the flight and go to sleep so I don't have to deal with jet lag later. But we talked and talked, and I was telling him about how I wanted to move to Africa. He said, well, why don't you move to Ghana? And jokingly, I said to him, if you find me some land by the ocean, I will. Truly, I was joking.
Mhm.
And so that was in January. In March, he called me and told me he found me some land by the ocean.
Mhm.
Well, February, we were going on our spring break, so I rushed and bought my ticket and came over here. He had hooked me up with his best friend from the university, and they picked me up and they brought me out here to Pram Pram, where I live. When I
Mhm.
got out here, that was in 2000. April, nothing was out here but bush. I mean,
Mhm.
just up to my chest, bush everywhere.
Mhm.
And I thought, and nothing much else was out there. I can't live out here in all these bush and everything. I am by myself. And but I went over to the ocean. And when I got over to the ocean, I went over there by myself. When I got over there, I just stood there looking out over the ocean, and I started to pray and thank the Creator for bringing me here. And
Mhm.
as I was praying, I in my head I heard the song by the OJ's, Ship Ahoy.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with that? Or are you too young to know the song
No,
Ship
so
Ahoy?
so my parents are Motown parents. I was born
Okay. So
1945.
Chippewa is by the OJs, and it's actually like a slavery song, and it talks about how you took my father away from me by the ocean, then you came back and took my mother. So it's a really powerful song. I wish I had some of the lyrics that you could hear, but anyway, I blinked my eye as this song is just booming in my head,
Mhm.
and in my head when I blinked my eyes and looked out over the ocean, I could see ships out over the ocean. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just a real serious, I mean, just the spiritual experience that I had from that. And then I just started crying and praying. And somehow I just came to
Pause right there. Pause right there. Because let's stay in that moment. Because I remember we talked earlier, and I mentioned to you I had that moment when I arrived.
Mhm.
It felt
Mhm.
right, right. So you heard the song. It felt right. But then you have all of these things back home, right? Because that's what a lot of people, they think about. They say, okay, I really want to repatriate, but I got
Mhm.
family back home who don't want me to go. But in that moment of pure happiness, did you have a moment to say, oh my gosh, what about the folks back home? Did that happen?
Um, yeah,
My
I thought
solo
about that.
way out. Hold on for a minute.
I
Thank
thought about that because I do have three children, and I
you.
thought about that. But I also thought that life had happened to me very early, life experiences, and so at this point, I decided that I had already decided that I was going to move to Africa at some point, and so at this time, I still had 10 more years before I could retire. So I just decided that when I retired, that I was going to I was going to go ahead on and move to Ghana.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I put in the other 10 years. And then when I retired, I packed up everything and got me a container and just came on over here.
Okay.
I
Now,
figured it was time for me since my children were grown. And I had my first child very young, that I just felt
mhm.
like it was time for me to, to go ahead on
So you
and
had to be at that point 40, roughly? How old were you roughly at that point?
20 years ago, my late 40s.
Okay. So you made
Mhm.
that, that, and I know what I'm going through right now is, and everyone goes through things in different parts of their lives. But for
Mhm.
me, for example, like it's a part, like I'll be 41 this year.
Okay. Okay.
In this age bracket, I'm starting to see people, you know, transition, right?
Mhm.
So I know some people they struggle with the notion of repatriation because they're like, every time someone passes, it could be like three people in 1 year, I have to go back. So
Mhm.
have you done that? Did you struggle with that? Like tell me, as people are passing on, did you go back a lot or did you like how
I
did
do.
you that's a hard
I,
thing to handle.
I go back every year. I go
Okay.
back every year because, like I said, I have three children, two boys and a girl,
Mhm.
and I have six grandchildren, and I have how many two great grandchildren. So
Mhm.
I go back every year in
Mhm.
August, because in Detroit in August they have an African World Festival, and that's the time when I go back that I get a chance to see everybody, all my friends and a lot of my family. And usually I go back. I may stay for a month, and I go back to Detroit, and sometimes I also go to Arkansas where I have family members there. And my brother and some of my family members who are in Ohio will usually come over. So, it's kind of a big thing when I go back then,
Mhm.
and and I go back and I have a good time, and then I come on back home.
Come
And
on, that's right.
I have this motto that I said, that I decided some few years ago, that I was going to make the rest of my life the best of my life.
Mm, mhm, mhm,
So
mhm,
when I retired and decided to come over here, I got the land in 2000, and I did go on and get the land because I came back in July
mhm,
after we were out for the summer break. And I decided, okay, just go on and get the land. I bought my
mhm,
land. When I got the land 20 years ago, they charged me, I paid almost $8,000 for an acre of land, which I thought was kind of expensive. But then I thought, I could never find this land in America for this amount by the ocean. But I
mhm,
found out also that 2 years before that they were selling that same land for $200. That's
mhm,
200 US dollars, and
mm,
I paid
mhm.
$8,000 for it. But at any rate, I got the land, and I finished building my house um, in 2002. It took me almost 2 years to build it,
Mhm.
and I would just go and come until I retired 10 years later. So I got my land 10 years before I retired, and and moved here. So
Mhm.
I mostly have not had any regrets. I said about eight. I often say that 80% of the time I really enjoy being here, and the other 20% of the time I struggle a little bit because, you know, um, because just because of the family. I've lost some
Right.
brothers since I've been here, some
Mhm.
cousins and all, and you think about how the distance that you are away, and and you know as you continue to age, and you your family is somewhere else. But it was a decision that I made, and so I'm just going to make the best of it. That's all.
Mhm. And that's why I had asked that kind of specific question because, I got asked by my brother recently. I was like, why don't you want me to go? He was like, because I want my family here. We
Yeah,
hear this. People love us. People love us, right? And
yeah.
so, we have to figure out a way we can manage the expectation and also the feeling of
Mm-hmm.
not seeing family all the time. Thankfully, with technology, though, we have Zoom, we have so many different ways that
Right.
we can communicate a little bit more effectively versus in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back slightly. Actually, I want to go all the way back because actually, Blind Guy and his wife, hi y'all, bye, how are you doing? I don't know if they're still around, but they had mentioned they wanted to know. We're going back all the way back in the Ivory Coast. What was that landscape like? I'm getting a little feedback too, but that landscape in the Ivory Coast is very fertile. Tell us about because again,
Yes,
we don't
very
hear much
fertile,
about.
very fertile, very tropical. Everywhere you look, in fact, I think it seems to be a little bit more tropical in terms of. I proclaim it tropical based on all of the coconut trees and palm trees and all of that you see, and a lot of greenery, and there's a lot of it there. And like I said, I had a wonderful extended family too there. Just a
Mhm.
wonderful family that I didn't have here. I knew a few people here. I have a friend here that has been here for 30 years that I've known for nearly 40 years. So,
Mhm.
but I moved one place and they were somewhere else.
Mhm.
But Ivory Coast was wonderful. I could speak a little French. It's not as good anymore because I don't
Yeah,
practice it.
me too.
I still go there. I go there just about, I had been going there every year until last year, until the virus. I would still go over there every year. At least, it's only like 35, 40 minutes by air from
Mhm.
Accra. So I would
Mhm.
still go over there, and
Not at
once in a
all.
while, they would come over here. Some of them would come over and visit me.
Mhm.
So I loved it because I had a wonderful family, extended family there. They were
Mhm.
beautiful, and whenever they would take me somewhere, somebody there, they were always inviting me to come to their home and have dinner and all of that. I don't really get that here. I haven't had uh, many Ghanaians over the years, and my first trip here was in 1980, 88 or 89. And I've not
Mhm.
had a lot of Ghanaians that you'll meet and they'll say, "Oh, come on, you're invited to come to my house and have dinner." You don't mean that.
Mhm.
I haven't had that experience a lot here. I don't think, maybe things have changed a little bit, but I don't think that Ghanaians typically, just up and invite you to the houses like that. But I had that happen to me a lot in both Senegal and in the Ivory Coast. And
Mhm.
like I said, it was just the fact that I had such a wonderful extended family there, and I still do.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's now we're going back to where you started building your house. Because we get this question, I haven't even started that process yet, and I get those questions.
Mhm.
I know you get it all the time. Hi, Kwame. I get it all the time, and I know you get
Mm.
it all the time. which is
I do.
tell us about building in Ghana specifically, because I know, my background is education and real estate. It's both.
Mhm.
And so one thing that people need to know, and I want you to talk about the materials, is that
Mhm.
it is not treated for termites, correct? The
Well,
wood.
the most of the houses here are built out of blocks, cement blocks,
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
and but of course you do end up with wooden doors and wooden closets, and a lot of people you will find that they do the cement and everything. I mean tiles on the floor, and I
Mm-hmm.
decided I wanted my house to kind of have a familiar feel. So just before I built my house, I guess I looked at probably about 200 different plans before I came up with one that I really wanted to use here. And so basically, my doors and my inside doors and the molding on my floor. But what would be very interesting to know is I have some outside buildings that I built, and just last week, a week before last, we were pushing one of the doors, and the door just fell off. It had dry rotted. So you have to be careful. Like I said, the majority of people will build with blocks,
Mm-hmm.
cement blocks. And if you're going to use like putting your doors in, of course, chances are they're going to be wooden. You have to make sure that you treat all of the wood really, really good. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel so bad since the house was built 19 years ago and the door's been up for 19 years. Um, but those are things that you have to be aware of. And I think after
Mm-hmm.
I put the door up again, one of the things I made a point uh, of doing is to make sure about every other year or so I retreat the wood
Mm-hmm.
because termites are really very vicious here, very vicious. And then the other
Mm-hmm.
thing is living by the ocean.
That was the
Love,
other
love
part.
living here by the ocean. It's very peaceful and very calm for the most part. I do have a neighbor that does a lot of hollering and screaming, but other than that, other than that, I love living here by the ocean. And but living by the ocean here is also can be a real challenge
Mhm.
because a
The
lot of if
salt,
you have anything,
right?
the salt is just vicious here, really very, very, very vicious. And so the
Mhm.
salt will eat up your doors. And in Michigan, when I lived in Detroit, I never had any bars on my windows or anything in Detroit or any security gates or any of that stuff. And so here, I wasn't going to put up any security gates, except I left a young man that had been staying here before I officially moved here. He was my
Mhm.
caretaker, and he broke into my house while I was gone. That was before I moved. And he stole about $3,500 worth of stuff from me, mostly linen and stuff. And
That
so
hurt.
after that, they told me I should put bars on the house. So then I put the bars on. And like almost every other year and a half, I have to paint them because of the rust and all.
So,
So that's what you may have to contend with if you're living by the ocean. I bought
mhm.
most of my doors, my front door and my sliding doors. I bought most of them from the States. And
Mm.
so I had vinyl front door,
Mhm.
and it's been
Mhm.
doing pretty good. However, just recently I've been having some trouble with the key. So, you have to be very aware of those. And I think now when I was building my house, they didn't have a lot of that material here then. So that's why I bought it
Mhm.
from the States. I bought all of my windows from Home Depot and my doors, my sliding glass doors, my windows, they were all vinyl.
Mhm.
So they've done
Mhm.
pretty well, all except for the screens that were made with metal. But now they have a lot of the stuff here now. You can just buy it
Mhm.
here. Hmm.
And when you were like using, obviously it's, I know for a fact that it could be sometimes trial and error when you're entrusting people to build your home, right? you know, so are there any, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, But I want to
Okay.
know in Ghana currently, who are there current companies that you would say, hey, use this company? Any recommended companies that's tried and true over the
Okay,
years?
well, I did start off with a group of people that had been referred to me, and a lot of my materials, because I wasn't here, I would send money, and the guy who was supposed to be in the what do you call it, the agent that was doing the building, who
Hmm.
was supposed to be around taking care of everything, he wasn't here all of the time,
The
and
project
so
manager.
project manager. So they did steal a lot of things from me. And
Hmm.
so one of the guys who were working with
I
them
can't stand
actually
the thief.
told me that they were stealing my things. And
Mhm.
so I just, I got rid of him, and I got another guy who ended up finishing my house, and he did an excellent job. And in fact, I just referred him to a couple today. He came
What's the
today, and
business name? If you don't mind dropping like the name, you want to do a name drop?
oh,
What's the
his
name
name
of
is
the
Joe
business?
Kwanzaa. His name is Joe Kwanzaa, but if anybody who's interested in his name, his number, I should talk with him first. I don't want him to get
Sure, sure, sure,
flooded with
sure,
people
sure.
calling him without him knowing what's
Oh,
going on.
sure, of
So,
course, of course.
they can. I'll talk with him about it. I did have him out today and introduce him to this couple who's interested in building. He was really very reliable and trustworthy and everything, and I've known
That's what
him 19 years because, like I said, he finished building my house. And
Mhm.
so he is a really, I would highly recommend him. I would highly
Excellent.
recommend him.
I
So
think that's a lot of. Mhm.
what I'll do is I'll talk with him, and then I'll give you his number. And then
Okay.
if anyone else is interested, if he says yes, then maybe I'll post it on my Facebook page or something where, you know, people
Yeah, I
can look
only
at it.
ask because we a lot of times we're looking for reliable people, and I feel like we just need to have like a hub of where this information of good,
Yeah, you're
reliable.
right. You're right. You're
Yeah,
absolutely
because
right.
because a lot of us, like me, you've seen I've been scammed, other person been scammed, and so if we can
A lot of
just
people.
find folks who actually want to work with
Hmm.
us,
Hmm.
um, and we can share that information so we can
Right.
empower
It's
them,
true.
put more food on their
That is.
table, and
Hmm.
kind of keep that person gainfully
Hmm.
employed.
Right.
That's
I
kind of what
totally
I'm saying.
agree.
Yeah.
I
So tell me,
totally agree. And I've even now had contact with a guy whose name I will not mention publicly,
yeah, don't.
who a lawyer who is really, really has been really very good, and and I like him a
You're
lot.
the
He
lawyer.
was educated in the U.S. and everything. He's a Ghanaian, but he was educated in the U.S. And since there's been a lot of issues about land issues too, I don't know all the
Yep.
details. I just recently heard that Ghana was changing its laws about this whole land issue, which is what I think they should do because oftentimes I've known several people that have bought land.
That's already
In
sold
fact, I
before.
have a friend to buy some land, and he didn't come back for quite some while, and you hear of other people who don't come back right away. And we're not accustomed to buying land in America. We buy houses. We don't buy land, and we don't build them
Mhm.
typically. And so, I've heard of several people that have bought land, and when they got ready to come back, one said he had left his watchman there to watch the house. He built a house for the watchman, and he built his house. And the watchman actually sold his land and tore down his house, and there's a
What?
mansion. Someone bought the land and they built a mansion on it. And I've also heard of other situations where people have bought land and maybe didn't go back to it right away. And when they went back, they had sold the land again, sold the same
Yeah.
land again.
You know,
And I
me
think that's
coming
something
from.
that
No,
the
I'm just saying.
government,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think that's something that maybe the government is taking more note of now and are being more aware of, and that hopefully we'll be putting a stop to that.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
the things that I have been interested in doing, speaking of land, I went to Michigan last year in February because my son was sick and in the hospital. And I had a chance, some of my best friends that I had taught with over the years got together, 7 of them, and took me out to lunch. And while we were out, that was my first time going back to Michigan in the wintertime in 10 years. It was so cold there. I have no winter clothes. And I thought I was going to freeze to death. I rented a car and I went out to clean the snow off of the car. And I literally had a brain freeze, literally. While we were out, I'm like, don't you all want to leave here? All of us retired. How are you standing all of this cold now? Don't you want to leave maybe during the winter time and come back, or something like that? And they said yes. And one said, a few said 3 months, some said 6 months. So when I got back home in March, just before the virus broke out, um, I posted it on my Facebook page and I got a lot of people response who said, yeah, do I have to be your friend? I was asking if I had any more my teacher friends over the years who might be interested in moving to Ghana and doing affordable housing. And I got a lot of response. There were about 70, 80 people who said they were interested. So I had been out looking for land. Most of them were interested in land by the ocean. But what I found over the months is that it's very, very difficult because of the numbers that are coming. In the year of
Yeah.
return in 2019, they said there were 579,000 of us who came and left $2.3 billion. And
I
so
know.
now more and more people are aware and are coming in and are trying to get land and all of that. And I thought how nice it would be if we could do like a affordable housing community. But now that more and more of us are coming back, the land is just by the ocean. It's just shot up sky high now. I mean, what I paid for an acre, 4 plots, now one of those plots by the ocean can cost $25,000, $35,000 for one. And I got 21 years ago for $8,000. So that was one of the things that I had been looking into. I haven't totally given up on the idea, um, just because I would like to try to be able to help those of my people who are interested in coming and to see what I could do in terms of affordable housing. I'm not doing it for the money or anything. I just want to be able to help wherever I can. And since there
Right.
are so many of us coming, to just try to help our people who want to come. But I haven't figured out a way to come up with the money even to buy the land. I was looking to get about 10 acres and do from about 25 to 30 houses. And so I haven't totally given up on it. So we'll see.
You're
We'll
not
see
going to
what
give up. Me
happens.
knowing you, you're not giving up. You're not.
But
You're not.
I have to come up with some kind of a way to do something. I thought about doing a GoFundMe, but they told me I can't do a GoFundMe here in Ghana, is what I was told anyway. So I don't know. I would love to be able to, to help people who are interested in coming and doing affordable housing. And although when I built my house, I was thinking because I was in the tourism business that I would come here and open up a bed and breakfast. That's what I had planned to do. But when I got over here, I found out it wasn't very easy finding people to come and work, to have a good workforce that would be there working with you for you. And a few times when I had a couple of friends over, I realized that if I didn't have good help, then that means I would have to be here all the time. I would have to do all of the cleaning and the cooking and all of that. So I decided that was not what I wanted to do, was open up a bed and breakfast. Uh, but if I had known then what I know now, I would have just built me maybe a 2, 3 bedroom house and built some chalets around. And then I could have gone into the business of renting them out or leasing them out or what have you. But I didn't know then, you know, I didn't know then. So anyway, I'll kind of see how things work out. If I can do it, I'll do it. If I can come up with a method where I belong to this group that's called, what is it called? The Blackout Coalition. And it's got 1.9 or 1.8 million of us in that group, the Blackout Coalition. And I thought, man, if I could have come up with an idea like that and had that many people interested in Africa, I could have just said to each one of them, okay, you're interested in Africa. We're going to put something together. And one of the ideas I thought of is that, okay, maybe you got all those people, if they were all interested in coming to Africa, you could sell some lottery tickets. Okay, you know, and with that many people, I would need maybe $400,000 to build the houses, and I could sell the lottery tickets, and people would have the opportunity, a chance to win one of the houses, or maybe two of them. You know, but I'm waiting for you and your group of followers to give me some ideas as to how this can be done. You know, because I have this passion and the idea, but to be honest, I don't know how to come up with that amount of money to build a house.
I'll tell you. So what I'll do, I'll reach out to you after this, and I have an idea. And it's actually a way that. So one of the reasons why I'm coming myself is because I potentially or not me, but we may have some land. So I want to take a look at it. But I'll tell you how we did it, and then how we plan to also have people come, you know, and be a part of it. Not everybody wants an acre of land, you know. Not everybody wants an acre. Some people just want a fourth,
right?
You know,
and you know, I think a wonderful community of diasporas, diasporas is what I call, would be wonderful, just to let the people know. You know, everybody else that comes here, the Chinese, the Lebanese, the Indians, and everybody that comes here, they contribute something to the country, and we do too. You know, but they build communities and all. We contribute a lot, although we don't talk about what we contribute. You know, I mean, probably in the last 21 years, I know for sure I've contributed at least probably about $400,000 here, at least. Because after I built my house, I built 3 more structures around it. And, you know, in terms of contributing, we give to the schools. We do all kinds of things, but we don't keep a tab of it in order to be able to show our contributions, which I think that we should be doing that. We are talking about having a conference. United Sister Support is a group that I belong to.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, what are you doing now? What are you, you know? Go ahead.
We're planning to do this conference in November. And
that's the one you were telling me about, right? That's the one you were telling me about. Okay.
A weekend conference is what we're talking about doing. And so we're hoping that with that conference, we will have the opportunity to come up with some ideas and some things that we can do that can bring us closer together, because until we can show collectively our contributions, we have no added value in this country. And every other group that comes from outside come inside. The Indians have added value. The Lebanese have added value. The Chinese have added value. And we come, but everything we do is on an individual basis. So we have no collective added value.
Yep.
And that's what we need. That's what we need to have, is some collective added value. And I hope that we can pull together and to be able to do that.
I think with more and more people coming, and with people like you who've been there for a very long time, I think bridging what your knowledge base is, right, and with this new energy, I think that there's going to be a little bit more unification with making a real, true, organized way of coming home versus, okay, I'm gonna buy this house. You buy your house, and I'm gonna buy this house. Like, no, we need to do a very community oriented. I like to say on code sometimes, use that word where we're. Okay, I'm gonna use a word. So Veronica, the education director, hates when I use this word. She says I overuse it, but this is how I feel about it. We need to be in Umoja. We need to be one, and we're yes, and that's the problem. And we also have to think about that's the way having a colonized mind made us, right? Having a colonized mind made us be like crabs in a bucket. So we were thinking we're by ourselves and we got to fight our own battles. And where we're at now, we need to move in a oneness, right? Where we can collectively reasoning, collectively have thought, collectively gather ourselves, collectively organize to where we're going to be a little bit more efficient. Either
the truth of the matter is that we need to be practicing all of the principles of Kwanzaa, all of them, every last one of them. If we could start practicing those principles, and I mean here as well as there, but if we can start practicing those principles here, you could see a whole lot of change, I do believe.
But how can you expect change or practicing those principles when people are still in the West, and that's a very unhealthy environment? It's an unhealthy environment. So
people are coming. That's the thing.
Right.
There are more people coming here than ever before in history. Since our ancestors were taken away, there have been more people who have been coming back. Like I said, sometimes I can't believe it myself that my first trip to Africa was 40 years ago. And so people are coming. We just need to start organizing so that people will have those who are interested in coming. You see, it was easy for me to come because I planned. And this is something that you really have to plan. A lot of people want to just get up and come over here. It won't work like that.
That's right.
First of all, you're not likely to find a job. But there are endless possibilities here. And if we were to pull together our resources, then we could create some of those and bring into fruition some of those possibilities. There are endless possibilities here.
Endless.
Me coming from Detroit, where the cars were made. And I sit and I think sometimes there's a company here that's called Katanka, and about 4 years ago, for 2 years, I tried to get a car from them, but I couldn't get it. It was never ready. And I was just thinking, all of those retired workers in Detroit, if Mr. Katanka would get together with somebody like me, and we would pull some of those retired people from Detroit and other places, but mainly in Detroit, because that's where I know, those retired people that could come over here, boy, he could be making cars and selling them all over West Africa, especially with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement area that's coming up now. And that is something else that we need to be involved in. We, as members of the 6th region of the African Union, it is very, 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 very important. A year and a half ago, I went to a conference in Paris. There was a 6th region conference. And when I got over there, I was really surprised. It was a European thing, what the Europeans were putting together for the 6th region. I don't think that those of us in North America, when you think in terms of population and the 6th region, the African Union 6th region, the largest population of people of African origin outside of the continent of Africa are from Brazil. The second largest is Haiti. The third largest is those of North America, those of us from North America. But the largest gross national product, I think, in terms of the revenue that we bring in, would be number one, North America. So if we were to pull together, there are so many things there are about 8 things that the African Union expect from those of us from the 6th region. And if we were to sit down and say, okay, we look at your initiative, your 2063 agenda, and what it is that you want from the 6th region, look at it. We can provide that. But we have to say also what it is that we want from them too. And that we don't say.
Right.
And Africa is as much ours. I love quoting Kwame Nkrumah. I am not an African because I was born in Africa. I am an African because Africa was born in me. And, we are who we are. We didn't ask to be taken away. So this is a time. I saw someone sent me a quote from the Bible, and I don't remember which chapter it was in, but I think it was in Genesis where it talked about, I'm paraphrasing, that your people will be taken away and enslaved for 400 years. That's what has happened. And so now is the time for us to wake up and make some decisions
Right.
in terms of what it is that we can do and what we should be doing.
And
So we can,
what's healthy for us and what's unhealthy for us? That's the
yeah,
biggest thing.
that's
You cannot thrive and you cannot have a peace of mind if you're unhealthy, mind
yeah,
and body.
that's
And
true.
so,
And
this is
my biggest fear, to be very honest with you, there is that my sons, mostly my sons, my grandsons,
I got a
my
question for you too
brothers,
afterwards. FYI.
my brothers, my male cousins, that I'll hear that one of them, you know, something has happened to them from the police or something like that. So yeah, it's a matter of us making a decision in terms of what it is that we want to do and working together. And we don't have to start off with a whole lot of people. You don't.
That's right.
You just have to start off with a few like-minded people.
A
And then
vision.
exactly, and then once we start off and people see that we're actually doing
They
something,
come.
they come. No
Mhm.
doubt about it, they come. Mhm.
Hold on, give me 1 second. So we had a question that came through from Shay, and she has a question for you. Ready for the question?
Okay.
Okay. She said, does Sister Erna think diasporan elders have done a good job sharing the message of how welcoming African nations are of diasporans? I see that face in general. And how can that messaging be better shared?
That's a good question. That was something that I had a short meeting today, and that is something that we talked about in terms of what can we do to help the young people who are interested in coming here and passing on, you know, the knowledge that we've gained as a result of being here. I can't say there are quite a few elders here. I met with a sister today who's been here for about 65 years. She's 85 years old, I think, or 87, something like that. And I can't say that I think that we've done enough, because definitely there's a lot more to be done. Um, but I can also say too that we have to look at it from both perspectives. Sometimes the younger people are really not that interested in hearing what we have to say in terms of, what our thoughts are and how they can come in and do, but they really should start learning from our experiences. And I think as the future, they could do so much, so much greater coming in than we have done in the past by our getting together and sitting down and talking about the plans that we have, that we could have, because I continue to say there are endless, endless, endless possibilities here
Mm-hmm.
on the whole
Right.
continent of Africa. We as a people just need to get together and set up some initiatives in terms of, we have to learn how to trust each other as well.
That's right. That part.
That's a very important factor. We must learn how to trust each other. When we can learn how to trust each other, we can set up some kind of a program where we can take a few little programs and invest in them and then just grow from there.
Mm-hmm.
And we
That's
can
right.
do that. We can do that. We're capable of doing that if we believe in ourselves and know that, this isn't the easiest thing to do, is to come back here to Africa. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's only because I was able to go through and retire. I wish I could have come when I was in my 30s. I really do, to live.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't in a position. I wasn't in a
Right.
position to even come here and be able to build a homes and stay here and all of that until I retired. So that, because I took most of the money that I had been saving, I worked 2 jobs. I taught after school. I did my school day job, and I did after school teaching, and I did my tours to Africa, for 10 years to try to save up money to build my house. And I think that those have got that urge to come here need to know that you have to make a plan, because you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to find a job when you get here. So make that
Mm-hmm.
plan
Mm-hmm.
and start working with those people who are interested and the people who are here, and pull our resources together so that we can accomplish programs and do things that our young people can, you all can just jump right in and start working to do those things. It's like schools here. I'm sure if there were some, one of the initiatives of the African Union is that by 2063, they want the entire continent of Africa, according to their initiatives, to be the entire curriculum of schools in Africa to be African centered. Now, a couple of years ago, I went to Detroit during the summer and tried to get some few people to work with me to start working on African centered curriculum. This is something that we can start doing right now, working on African centered curriculum. Detroit was one of the first schools that brought in African centered schools. And I've got African centered curriculum materials that we created while I was in Detroit school. So those are, they're just different things that we can do that if we just pull together.
That's right. And on an ending note, is there any last and final thoughts that you want to share with everyone out there? Because listen, I consider you probably one of my best resources and most profound person I know in Ghana. So, you and I have talked much over the course of the year, multiple times on different little subjects. Anything that you want to share with people out there from your index of everything you learned over the year? Maybe two things or three things that you want to share with everyone in your final thoughts.
Okay, I would say that my number one thing would be that if you're interested in coming here, we really do need to form some organization that will help those who are interested in coming, and that we do need to pool our resources together. That's how more and more of us can come and be comfortable being here. That finding a way, finding that path where you can come, we can create jobs. I was thinking
barbershop.
I was thinking in terms of the community that I was interested in building, that everybody who lived there, if there was anything that needed to be done, they could take care of those things. Of course, we would have Ghanaians in there working with us and everything. Ghanaians would be the ones who would come in and do the building. So it's not like we're excluding our sisters and brothers. It's just that, just like here, there are all of these various ethnic groups here, the Gas, Ashantes, and the this and the that. Then we just become another group, just like the ones that are already here. We are the Hug diasporas, historical unique group. That's who we are here. And if we were to start working together, we could accomplish not only for ourselves, but for this country as well. And the government understands it. That's why they set up beyond the year of return. And that's why exactly. And that's why they set up the whole program for the year of return, because they knew what was going to happen. And they want to see some more. They may not necessarily want all of us to come and stay here, and all of us don't have to come and stay here.
Right.
There are 53 other countries that you can go to.
That's right.
I hear that various other countries are, I think it was Sierra Leone was offering citizenship.
That's right.
And someone told me something about Liberia. So, there are other places. By the way, I am going to Rwanda, the African Free Continental Trade Area, in collaboration with the Intra-Africa Trade Fair, is having a fair in December in Rwanda. And I'm going to that so that I can learn more about the African Continental Free Trade, because we should be able to do some things together as diasporas. Those who are on the other side. I was mentioning how there, I've got a couple of people who are trying to get on the page who keep sending me messages, trying to get on the page here.
Is it Dewan? Someone keeps popping their name.
Yes,
oh, okay. I'm like, who is this person? I'm like, I don't know if you see frustration in my face. I was like, who is this person? Okay. Next time he comes in, I'll accept him. Okay.
All right. So we need to know about the African Continental Free Trade Area. We need to know about that. I'm going to just mention one thing. For instance, when I was in the States, I went to a health food store there. And do you know that they were selling neem for $12 for 4 ounces? That's
Shut up.
$48 a pound. When I moved out here, that's all that was out here was neem. Everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. What do they do with
Mm-hmm.
the neem? They cut it down, burn it, make charcoal out of it. And that's it.
Me and Shay was talking about that. It's so much.
$48 a pound. Do you hear me? So
Mm-hmm.
if we have people who are there, who you learn about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, you're interested in coming, start preparing yourself. And they're just, like I said, there are endless possibilities. I remember one year how I was over here and I took some shea butter back and just um, with my friends, my teacher friends, everybody wants some of that shea butter. I took some Sobolo back one year.
Mm-hmm.
The they don't call it Sobolo everywhere though. But at any rate, I took hibiscus, the flowers that they make the
Mm-hmm.
Sobolo out of. Everybody wanted some. Once I made some and let them taste it, everybody wanted some. They got all of this stuff here that just grows everywhere. And we
That's
learn
right.
how, as members of the sixth region, we need to learn how we can be strong and benefit our families and ourselves, as well as the other 5 regions of the African Union. We are
Yeah.
the sixth region.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
so,
we need to go back to the source of, living in the United States. We're very cosmetic, right? I think you get to a point where you desire to know how to put things in the grounds and how does it come out from the ground, and we've lost that connection to the ground. And that's a very, I know that sounds kind of, elementary, me saying that, but it's very deep. When you lose connection to the ground, you're not gonna survive. Like you're not gonna survive. That's just not how it works on this
mhm,
earth. So we need to get back connected to the ground. My friend who lives in Equatorial Guinea, he said you literally could put anything in the ground here, anything, and it
mhm,
grows. He's like, it'll
mhm.
grow in like 2 days. Grow.
Yeah,
Like
well,
it's so
I mean,
fertile.
a lot of people don't like to hear this, but it is a Garden of Eden after all.
I don't care if they
It
don't
is
like
what
to
it
hear
is. This is the Garden of Eden.
it. Mm-hmm.
No matter how you look at it, if you look at it from a biblical perspective and in the Bible, and I'm not a religious person, but in the Bible, it states that the Garden of Eden encompassed the whole of Ethiopia. And that was what Africa was called before Leo
Mm-hmm.
Africanus came in. You know, it said
Mm-hmm.
it encompassed the whole of Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it from the other perspective, in terms of they're saying how they found the first bones of mankind, where did they find it? In the Olduvai Gorge area of East
Mm-hmm.
Africa. So we are
Mm-hmm.
in the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm. We're in the
So we need to
beginning,
figure out a way that we can utilize it. Everything is here.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the Chinese are here. They
Mm-hmm.
know everything is here.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, every kind of mineral, like you said, you can grow all
Source.
kinds of every plenty of sun. I've heard people say that the reason that the Africans weren't getting as much of the virus is because of vitamin D, the sun. We got plenty of it.
Yep.
We got plenty of it.
And that's why you glowing. You are glowing. I meant to tell you that before we get your
Yeah.
skin is beautiful. Your aura is beautiful. You
Well,
just
I'm
mwah.
really,
Queen mother, as
blessed.
she
Thank
said.
you. I'm
Queen
blessed.
mother.
When I left here 11 years ago, I'm proud to say the change that has taken place. I was 190 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And over the last 11 years, I've not done anything special. I didn't go on any special diet. I didn't
Just
go doing
happy.
any exercise. It just came off of me. 40 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
40 pounds. I want 10 more to
That's
come
one of
off.
the reasons why I'm going back. I was like, shoot, I lost like weight quick. And I
Yeah,
came back
yeah,
and gained it back, being in this,
yeah. That will
this
happen.
environment.
That will
So
happen.
yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, your
So,
face is glowing though. Like it's a glow, a
oh, thank you.
radiance. Queen
Thank you
Mother.
very much. Thank you. Thank you
So
very
Shay
much.
called you Queen Mother. Shay is in the chat. She said she basically called you Queen Mother.
Yeah.
I like
Mhm.
that because you actually are, in my opinion.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I hope that I can continue to do whatever I can. Um, there's a brother, Bomani Temba, you know of him?
Yes.
Who did a post. He comes around to my house, when they bring in groups and everything,
Yeah.
and he's brought in groups over here several times, and I think they did about 4 parts and video or so, and over 200,000 people have seen those videos. So
Yep.
it's really amazing. I was at the airport one day, and this guy just came up to me and he said, hey, I know you. He said, can you hold on for 1 minute? I'm like, who is this guy? I know I'm getting older and a little bit forgetful, but I don't know who this guy is. So I just kind of kept walking a little slow. I had enough time. And he said, hey, look. He said, Mom, remember I told you about this lady I saw on YouTube? This is her. This is her. I was really, really shocked. And from time to time, people will say, I know who you are. This guy, another guy said, I know who you are. I'm like, oh, okay. So Bomani has done, I guess, kind of a job of putting out there also, my talking about my experience in Africa and everything. But I do want to be as helpful as I can and do whatever I can to try to help those who are interested in coming. Because, it's in our DNA.
Yeah, absolutely.
Africa is in our DNA. And so those who are willing, everybody don't want to come back, but those who are willing and want to come back, the only thing I can say is don't come here with your rose-colored glasses on. You got to come here and step into reality.
That's right.
You may have to listen to some of those who have been here, or you could get burnt really bad. So, come back with an open mind. Know when you come back here, sometimes they call us Obrunis.
Yeah.
We just, they, like I said, they are different ethnic tribes, cultural tribes, and we're just a hug tribe who's coming home. And we deserve to come home if we want to come home.
That's right.
It is home.
It is home.
So, I just try and do my best to do what I can and give out the information that I can and help those that I can who are interested in coming.
Well, thank you so much.
So I try to be a blessing to others.
You are a blessing. Again, I think I like what Shay just called you, which is Queen Mother, because you are literally Queen Mother. You're like the first person I go to for questions as it pertains to anything really. I'm always bouncing ideas off of you. But yeah, I'm gonna get with you after the live or just message you about the making it work with the land and everything. Give you some ideas. Right. I got some good ideas too.
I think that would be wonderful if we can start off with something even small. And then once people see that we're doing this and those who are interested, you can start off with some of the people who are retired, who can come in maybe and afford to come in, and then, put some others in and help to build that community. Then eventually we can open it up. We can have a program set up where, if you got 5 years before you retire, you want to start paying down on your house maybe and start working on getting it built, you could do something like that if we have the land. And I have seen some other land that's not as expensive, it's just not by the ocean, but we can start. So thank you
this is definitely a start. Thank you so much too, Madase. And just I'm gonna plug this really quickly. Of course, we have our tree class coming up this Sunday. I think God is coming up as well. So make sure you guys are looking at our YouTube page here or YouTube channel. Make sure you guys are on our Instagram. We have a lot of languages starting this weekend. I know Bobia Bioko Island. That's a really specific language. I'm Bobi, especially on my maternal side, put it that way. And then so Criollo of Cape Verde. Cape Verde is a new, like a lot of people are going to Cape Verde, just an FYI on that.
Really?
Yes. I was surprised too. We have French, Yoruba, Hausa, Swahili, of course, which I'm learning Swahili. I'm kind of in between now, Swahili and Sri. But anyway, you guys just definitely tune in. We'll try to do some series like this. And of course, I'm probably going to invite Queen Mother back if she has any updates about land or just updates in general. And thank you guys for attending today. Again, Madase to Queen Mother, Sister Erna, and we'll see you next
My
time.
pleasure. All right.
Bye
Thank
bye,
you. Bye
everybody.
now. Bye. Okay.